So this is a second version where we are of Reconnaissance, where we are going to talk about idle scan. So we were discussing about the unique scanning method, that is idle scan. The goal of each probe with an idle scan is to determine if a host is listening on a particular TCP port without revealing the IP address of the probing system. This method implies a scapegoat system. If there is any login on the network traffic, the scapegoat's IP address is the one that is implicated in the scan. In this diagram, we have the attacker, the victim, and the zombie. The zombie is the scapegoat. The one requirement for the zombie is that it must be an idle system. That is, the zombie must not be involved in any other network activity during the probe. The idle scan starts by determining the current IP ID on the zombie's TCP IP stack. The IP host assigns an IP ID to every packet that sends, and they increment the ID by 1 for each successive packet. So, to determine the current IP ID, the attacker sends a probe to the zombie. The probe can be implemented in different ways. It can be an ICMP echo resulting in ICMP echo reply, or it might be a TCP ACT packet before the three-way handshake completes, resulting in a TCP reset from the zombie. In any case, the response returned to the attacker, who extracts the IP ID value from the response. With the IP ID value in hand, the probe begins. The behavior differs on whether the victim is listening on the probe port or not. First, let's look at the behavior when the victim is indeed listening on the TCP port, or that the TCP port is open. The attacker sends the TCP sense to the victim, spoofing the zombie source IP address. The victim sees this packet as a connection request from the zombie and performs a second step of the TCP three-way handshake, sending a SEND ACK to the zombie. The zombie didn't send the SEND and was not expecting the SEND ACK, so it responds with the TCP reset. The TCP reset increments the IP ID value by 1. The attacker then sends a second probe to the zombie to see what the current IP ID is, because the IP ID value has incremented by 2. The attacker can assume that the zombie generated the TCP reset packet, and hence the victim has TCP port open. Now let's look at what happens when idle scan is done with a closed port. Again, the attacker has already probed the zombie and is aware of current IP ID value. It sends a spoof TCP send to the victim, and the victim sees this as zombie attempting a TCP connect. The victim is not listening on the port, so it sends the TCP reset to the zombie. IP hosts do not respond if they receive an unsolicited TCP reset, and as such, the IP ID value is not changed. So when the attacker sends second probe to the zombie and finds that the IP ID value has only increased by 1, the attacker can assume the victim is not listening on the TCP port. The TCP port is a closed port. The idle scan was chosen as an example because it is very clever. It shows how attacker can think outside the box. The idle scan is only one of many other clever use of TCP behavior that are integrated into scanning technology. Time limits our ability to discuss these methodologies further, but you can search them on your own. So see you in the next video, where we are going to talk about exploit kits. Thank you so much.